What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Bearded Wholesome and All Things Baltimore. This is season 5, episode 10, and I have a very special guest tonight. He is one of my former football teammates at Mount St. Joe, dating back 20 years this coming football season. He is currently the pass game coordinator for the defense at Bowie State University. My boy Rod White. What's going on, Rod?
Not much, man. 20 years. Dang, we met
20
20 years ago.
years.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think
Yes,
about that.
it
20 years
is.
ago.
We're professionals in our own fields now, and we're both fathers, and we're navigating that part of life. The married, dad life, and balancing work. How first and foremost, before we get into the football aspect of the show, how's everything going, man?
Everything good. Can't complain. Can't complain. Like I said, family's good. Job is good. I said, getting ready to ramp it up in the next 2, 3 weeks. Actually, 21 days, we'll start spring practice. So we'll start getting active. But other than that, like I said, family's good. So can't
That
complain.
little one's keeping you busy, isn't he?
Yeah, like I said, he's running around. He's a handful. I'm sure he'll be happy once we start practice because he comes to practice, run around on the field, playing catch with the guys and all of that. So he's he's keeping me busy, but trying to also keep him busy.
Well, that's good because they get into everything. That you're
Oh,
almost at that
for
fun
sure.
age now where you get to chase him around. Get to start molding your next Division 1 football player.
That's the plan.
So before we talk about your current your current job with Bowie State, um, for those of my listeners that don't know, Rod and I played football at Mount St. Joe together, like I alluded to earlier, 20 years ago. I was a left guard and he was a freshman running back. Uh, he was on the fresh soft team for all of 6 minutes. um,
Yeah, a day, like you
I
said.
think you I think you were there one day, and we were watching you run, and Coach Madio was like, "We're gonna bring some of the freshmen over here to run behind you guys. Uh, don't get them killed." So you know how Madio had very colorful language, and
For sure.
so it was you and Chaz
So
as
it was. So on the team, so they got moved up from the freshman team. It was me and Q Jones that day. But Chaz, I believe, stayed on the freshman team. But
Yep.
it was on the freshman class in general that was on JV was me, like I said, Quentin Williams, Kirk Brooks, Brandon Page,
Yep.
Craig Upshur, and there might have been one more, might have just been us five, but
Craig Upshur was a certified crash dummy. I'm not
but
gonna
yeah.
go there, but we had me and him had quite a few fights during practice. But I remember the first day that you guys all joined us, and we had been in practice for a little bit,
Hmm.
and Matteo tells you and Chaz to come over and run some traps and some counters, and you were hitting the hole like it was nothing. And I remember we ran a 23 dive, and it was right off my outside hip, and I crashed down on the defensive tackle and I hit the second level. Chaz had a hole that you could drive a 18 wheeler through, and he fell without even getting hit. He tripped over his shoelaces, and Matteo sent him right back over to the fresh soft side.
I remember my very first play, and it's crazy that, like you said, it was a trap. Like my very first carry was a wham. I remember it. Like I said, trap, you coming across. Like I said, my got moved up, and when we got moved up, y'all were already at practice when we got there. So we just
Mm-hmm.
had to hop in and find our way.
Yeah, and see the thing is, I went over to school not long ago, and they got these very nice practice facilities. They got the multi-million-dollar college level weight room now, and the training room isn't a cage with two tables in a cold tub, and they never had a chance of asbestos poisoning working out in the dungeon.
They,
Um,
they have no idea. I have a kid on my team now from St. Joe, and literally last Thursday it might have been, we was having a conversation about the facilities. He said we got to upgrade the facilities. I said, no, you have no idea what we had to go through.
No,
I was like, y'all practice on the game field, or y'all wait to practice on the game field. We had to take the walk across the other side of the gate. you had no
yeah,
idea, or like you said,
yeah.
lifting
We
in
didn't
the
have a
dunk, and like
we didn't have
had
a
no
bridge
idea.
to get to practice.
No,
There was no
no,
bridges,
no. They don't
but
understand.
they don't. And I told a couple of the players that I know, and I'm like, hey, um, our idea of training indoors was running down the long hallway before you got to the PE entryway, where we ran that long hallway from the entrance of the building
Mm-hmm.
to past
Yep.
the training room, past the locker rooms, all the way down to the basketball locker rooms.
Yep.
So yeah, we we didn't have it nice like these guys. I was looking around, I was like, there's no rust on these weights. There's no asbestos hanging out of the ceiling. There's no there's no mold anywhere. I'm like, what is going on over here? I don't like this.
It's definitely different. Definitely different.
It was you know, not that not that you're on the show though, Rod, and I know that we're reminiscing a little bit, but you were a hell of a ball player, and some of the people that messaged me today when I told them you were coming on earlier, you were a baller, bro, and I'm surprised that you latched onto the defense because you were a hell of a running back, and you got a high IQ for
So
football,
I think
and
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And the thing about it is, we had so many guys at St. Joe. You know, St. Joe, we have a lot of skill guys. So it was a bunch of offensive skill guys. So the way for me to get on the field the fastest was on the defensive side. And then, so like you said, my IQ, it allowed me to be that much better on on the defense side of the ball. So, like I
we
said,
got some comments rolling in.
I see Sam Martell's on here talking, but I definitely wanted. Like, I went to high school as an offensive player. Like my dad telling me, I remember in the 8th grade, said, "You know, you wanted to pick a side, what side of the ball you want to play." I said, "All right, I want the ball. I want to score." So that's why I tried out as a running back. Got moved up as a running back, but I made varsity sophomore year as a DB. But I started games as a sophomore on the offensive side of the ball. And then junior and senior year just became a full time, well, a defensive guy mainly. Then I said senior year I started both ways, but the prize was for me was on defense at that point in time.
Yeah, and the thing is, your sophomore year, which was my junior year, that running back room was crowded, man. So for you to get some action, there was Jake Boone and Jared Ricks and Bo
Yep.
and
Garnell
um,
Hall, Chase Adams.
Garnell. They were loaded. There was like 6 guys that could carry the rock,
Yes.
and you being the youngster, you know that was the year we switched over to that godforsaken Veer offense, and
Yes.
that
Yes.
was a courtesy of good old Chip. And
Yes.
I remember we were all having spring practice, and we were in the cafeteria, and it was right before we were about to go out, and Armstrong came up to me and he was like, "Oh yeah, you're not a guard in this offense." I'm like, "Well, I've only played offensive line my entire career that I've ever played, so where am I moving?" He's like, "Oh, you're going to be a nose tackle." I'm like, "Great." I know what happens to nose tackles as an offensive lineman. So now I'm not even going to do nothing but just clog the lanes. And I was getting double and triple teamed every goddamn day. Me and Alex Raymond
Yep.
competed. He beat me out, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I started some games, he started some games, and then I broke my ankle that year, and I missed 6 games, and it was a hairline fracture. They called it a broken ankle, but yeah, that was a rough season because I think we won 3 games that year.
Yes.
We did
Yes.
not win a lot while we were there.
No. We did. Like I said, we did. We won. Like I said, we won a little bit on JV the first year. And I said, my sophomore junior year, we went 3-7. And then my senior year, we ended up winning the championship. But those first 2 years were rough.
Yes, they were, and it was nice to see you guys win the championship right after we got out of there. And no matter what, we always have that bond of playing together, and
Sure.
it was nice to see you go on to college and play So for those of our viewers that don't know, where'd you play your college ball?
So I actually bounced around a little bit. Like I said, leaving Mount St. Joe, I went to Lackawanna College up in Pennsylvania. I said I was there for a year. Then I transferred. I redshirted a year. Like I said, redshirted there. Then I transferred to Alfred State University, which was another 2 year school, another junior college, where I played a season. Then I finished my playing career at West Liberty University, a D2 school in West Virginia. So like I said, I bounced around a little bit. Like I said, I was at started at like on JUCO, did a redshirt year there, and there I was 18 years old, but I was in the safety room with guys that were 21, 22. So like I said I was a puppy compared to them, and all of them had 2 years. So it was like you're gonna be here, but you're behind them. So as I said, I did my redshirt year there. Then I transferred out for state and played. And then I said it was time for me to move on to a 4 year institution. So I said I went to West Liberty University and finished out my last 3 years there.
So before we get into the coaching aspect, uh, you're heavy into recruiting. You've been that way everywhere at every stop you've been. Getting recruited at a Mount St. Joe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, however long it may have been in between there, and then you're seeing the NIL now. Is it really changed the game that much as people that aren't in the coaching industry have seen?
So a lot of things has changed the game. So compared to when I was coming out in 2008, 15 years ago, to now, social media has changed the game a lot. Social media, the invention of huddle, which is what all the schools, high schools, and lower level Division 2, Division 3, and some FCS schools use for film. But like I said, it's easy access to find a kid. Whereas us, coming out, you had to mail out DVDs, do this, do that. Like it was a little bit harder. Like you had to work a little bit harder back when we were coming out. Where now, like I said, the invention of huddle and social media, where 2 clicks it's shown to the world. Like right now, I can go through my phone and I can have let me look right now. I have 15 unread, like I said, message requests from people trying to send me their film. And like I said, and that's from all over the country. So social media made things big, and then NIL. So we don't necessarily deal with NIL as much. Like I said, being a Division 2 school, where one, we don't have the money for NIL, nor do our kids really. I ain't say our kids don't desire it because they always want money, but they know they're not that type of player where the FBS is the guys who you see on TV. It has changed the game drastically where it's no longer really about actually recruiting, building relationships. It's about who can pay the most, who can give this kid the most money, the nicest car for him to come to their institution. So I said on those big boy levels, the FBS, the Power Fives, yeah, NIL has changed the game drastically. Everywhere else, like FCS, D2, D3, NIL, NIL hasn't touched those levels as much, but NIL is crazy right now. Changed the game for sure.
Yeah, I'm a football purist, and I really think that uh, the combination of the NIL and the transfer portal has made college football essentially free agency. And if you can move anywhere as long as you know the rule to going either up a level, down a level. It used to be nationwide, no matter what, unless you went from Division 1 to Division 2 or Division 2 down to 3, you had to sit a whole calendar year from when you got there, and that made a lot of kids hesitant
Mm-hmm.
to transfer. Now, I mean, I know I'm gonna use a couple of Division 1 guys, but for instance, the kid Spencer Rattler, he was at Oklahoma, didn't like what he was going on over there. He moves to South Carolina, and that's just one example. There's kids that have been jumping all through the portal. Colorado, 85% of their team was transfer portal kids,
Yep.
and I was listening to Mike Loxley, the Maryland coach, on the radio last month, and he said it's crazy how there's kids in the NIL, in the transfer portal with the NIL, they're like a 2-star running back, and they're like, oh, you need 150 grand to get me. And it's like it's totally changed the game, and I'm sure it's changing how high school kids market themselves now.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Like you said, I'm a fan of the transfer portal, and I've always been, even as a player. I think and now me being a coach, like, it's crazy for me to say this, but if a coach is able to leave, I felt as though a player should have been able to leave. Just like us as adults, if we don't like the situation we're in at our job, we would leave and get a new job. I think players should have always had that right to. I don't like my situation. It's time for me to go. Now, the mix of NIL and transfer portal, ridiculous. Because now it's just, again, they're bidding. Like, schools are bidding, like, reaching out to kids. I'll give you this amount of money for you to come transfer. And now they don't have to sit out. They can play right away. So the mix of the two is what making all of this go crazy, is the mix of the two, because one of them independently, I think, is fine, even if you have NIL for the kids. But if they got to transfer, they got to sit out of here. Cool. I don't think schools would be poaching, trying to get other kids as often as they are now. But when you have the mix of the two, yeah, it makes the NCAA the Wild Wild West. And like I said, back in 22, after the 21 season, Bowie State finished in Elite Eight, so top 8 in the country. When we get to the spring of 22, 4 kids transfer in the portal: Marshall, South Florida, two go to Southern. So it was guys like, schools came plucking the talent at Bowie State to go take them to another level, where if they had to sit a year, again, schools wouldn't have been doing that to go poaching, trying to grab talented kids, where now so they can play right away for you.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that because now like you just said, that you have these bigger schools coming and poaching, and then when you came out in 2008, and in our time where we were getting just looked at, period, you went to Division II if you had academic trouble or you had behavioral problems, and nobody in the Division I level would touch you, and then you had to kind of do the Cam Newton where you bounce around a little bit, and then you have a 5-year college, 6-year college career, and then before you know it, instead of being 22 hitting, for the pros, you're 24. But now it seems like the D2 and D3 schools are just getting I'm not trying to be derogatory about it, but they're getting the
Mm-hmm.
scraps. And then
So
those kids feel some kind of way.
So it's kind of go both ways, because the portal has also hurt high school recruiting. So we actually we're getting, like, and I'm gonna be honest, like I said, we just signed on signing day. We just signed a pretty good class where I think 3, 4, maybe even 5 of our guys, about 5 of our guys had higher level offers. But we ended up, like I said, being able to get them. Like I said, they were legitimate offers where the kids could have went, but we were able to end up getting them. So we don't necessarily get the scraps because of the portal. I said one of the kids we got, FCS school didn't take them because they only had one spot for a high school kid. They already got that kid committed at another position because they were going to focus on getting a transfer portal. So sometimes, like I said, the time now, where, again, like I said, back in the day, it might have been a little bit more where, like I said, you might have had the lesser of the talent. Like I said, not to talk down about it, because again, I said I played Division II football as well, but I felt as though, I said, I was a talented guy where I could have played on the FCS level, but you stayed in your program. Then more like 90% of the kids, and I said that's just a number I'm throwing out there, probably stayed in the program for 4 or 5 years back then, whereas now they're transferring all over, and like I said, schools are legit. You get 25 on the Division I level. You get 25 scholarships a year. They're probably only using half of those scholarships on high school kids, where back in the day, all 25 were going to high school kids. Now, like I said, they're using half of them on high school kids, the other half on the portal. And our mindset at Bowie State, and I'm sure there's other places, where if we lose a kid to the portal, we want to replace a kid from the portal. Like if we lose production, like a kid produced for us and he's coming back, we lose production, we want to get it back with production with someone who has production. And I can't ask if I lose a DB with 5 interceptions, I want to bring a DB that has 5 interceptions at his previous institution. Someone like I said, I can replace production with production. So I said we don't necessarily get the scraps anymore. Like I said on a lower level because kids are losing out because of the portal.
That makes perfect sense. Now, kind of switch gears over to the coaching aspect. Rod, you're the defensive pass game coordinator. You coach safeties. I wanted to ask you because I remember when we played, and I remember who we played against. Big kids were generally in the trenches in the front seven, depending on what side of the ball you're on. An occasional big running back, and a big tight end. Uh, it seems like over the last decade or so that bigger and stronger and faster kids are now moving into the back four of the defense, and they're playing free safety and strong safety. Are you seeing a lot of? I mean, I don't want to use like an all pro as an example, but Kyle Hamilton, if he would have played while we played, he's a middle linebacker or he's an outside linebacker, and 6'4", 220 pounds. I mean, runs like a gazelle. Is it difficult now where as opposed to when we came out, safeties were generally 6 feet, 200 pounds, 210 pounds?
Yeah, so it's a mix because the game has and it's crazy to hear. I was just talking to we just had a camp at Bowie State on Sunday, and one of our players was there at the camp, and he was like, "Coach, things seem like kids seem smaller." So and again, all depends on the level, like I said, because everyone always kind of talk down on the group behind them, but the game has became where we go. You look for you're trying to get speed on the field, trying to get fast, trying to get faster, but the kids have gotten bigger, stronger, and faster. Where back when we were playing, and like I said, couple like I said, I'm a couple linebackers that back in the day. If you think about Alabama, when they had Reuben Foster as a linebacker, like 6'2", 250, hard nose, like he going like, and compare Ray Lewis to Roquan Swift, Roquan Smith and Patrick Quinn. Ray Lewis is and all of those linebackers during the early 2000s were a lot bigger. They were a lot bigger than the linebackers now, but everybody across the board, every other position, like I said, the DB position has gotten better because the receivers have gotten bigger. The receivers have gotten bigger, so now you need to go get a bigger DB. I said if it's a bunch of 6'3", 6'4" receivers, I don't need a bunch of me's 5'8", 5'9" out there. We gotta go get I gotta go get some length. I gotta go get some on 6'1", 6'2" to go combat it at the corner and the safety position. So like I said, the kids have gotten bigger and stronger and faster, so it makes it look like the DBs, like the small guys, have gotten bigger, but everyone has someone gotten bigger in their own way. The backers aren't the big bulky type where they go and play in the box downhill all the time. So the backers now are some of them are bigger and stronger, but they can run sideline to sideline. I said they can run sideline to sideline, but like I said the game has changed where the kids have just changed. Not like the individual have changed, but like I said they've gotten bigger, stronger, faster. They've gotten bigger, stronger, faster, and the game has gotten faster. So you've gone away from necessarily the big lumbering linebackers and stuff.
Because go back to St. Joe because that's all I know, and that's what we know
Mm-hmm.
together. Even though
Mm-hmm.
you're far more well traveled. You know, your prototypical middle linebacker was somebody like Twilly, 6'1", 240. Your typical outside linebackers were, I know he's listening right now, Sam Mitel, 5'10", 5'11", 215, 220 pounds. He
Yep.
might have not even been 200 pounds because he played lacrosse half the year
Mm-hmm.
too. So,
Yep.
and then you have guys that were playing corner like you and Ray Gambrell and Garnell Hall, where you guys
Auburn. Yep.
didn't even touch 180 pounds
Mm-hmm.
in your playing days.
Yep.
And um, it seems like now not only are they bigger, stronger, faster, but it's a lot of positionless players out there now to where you can plug them in anywhere in the back seven. And I know it's with the evolution of the game, and don't get me wrong, I know that's where the game has been heading for a long time. But now
Hmm.
you got I'm sure your safety room, you could probably look at your safety room right now and think these guys were outside linebackers 15 years ago.
So it's like I said, that's the thing. It's super positioning, and the thing about it is, like I said, and I've been a guy that has always loved that, like position. Like he can play wherever, like wherever we need him to go. Let's go line up and do it. I said, just get the job done and go play ball. I said, it's definitely starting to become position as you see with. I said you brought up Kyle Hamilton. Like Kyle Hamilton plays back deep, plays outside linebacker, sometimes goes to corner, goes to inside line. Like he's all over the place. Like so, yes, the game has become positionless, and and I love it. I love it.
And I'm sure you do. I mean, knowing that you're, coordinating the passing defense for the team, and for those of the listeners that don't understand it, you're pretty much in charge of the coverages and the calls. And I know there's a defensive coordinator, but you help him. He relies on you as the man, with the eyes in the defensive secondary. So that leads me to this question: when you and I played together, there wasn't a whole lot of rules. There was rules, but for contact, we were knocking each other's blocks off. There, the ear hole, crackbacks hadn't been outlawed yet. They had just outlawed the high low.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you were allowed to cut back towards the line of scrimmage on
Mm-hmm.
run plays for blocking, and that's where we did damage. I know that I did a lot of damage on crackbacks, and I have no problem admitting it. How is it coaching now, knowing that as a player, your entire career from pee wee football all the way through university, that you pretty much played with a controlled chaos, and now there's a definitive strike zone that's on the body? What is it like teaching that aspect of the game, knowing that you were conditioned for 20 years to see the person with the ball and hit them, or go for that ball and run through it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you were an aggressive player, and I watched you. We were on the same team for a couple years, so I know that you had that aggression in you. How is it coaching it now, where you got a strike zone essentially from the collarbone to the thigh pads?
So again, like I said, me starting to really play DB, I played a little bit, like I said, freshman year, and I said of high school, and I said all the way on. You start to adapt. You start to adapt and see how things are, and then you start to understand. At some point in time, like I said, the game and the things it become about stats. So I tell the guys, especially now, like I said, it's easier because I know how these kids are. These kids understand stats. They want their numbers. The ball gonna get you our conference. That hit not gonna get you our conference. So if you got a chance to go for a ball versus the hit, go for the ball, or at least make an attempt to go for the ball while you're making contact with the hit. Because like I said, if you just happen to catch the interception or get a pass breakup, those are stats that will help you get to our conference. So that's how I started to adapt, understanding that these kids, these players these days, like they want stats. They love stats. So you tell them kind of go for the ball. Go for the ball, be smart, and even on special teams, we got to tweak some of the things we do. And we literally had a special teams meeting today. We was talking about crackback blocks, where we had 2 penalties last season because we got guys still that have aggression. Like we have kids from all over the state of Maryland, and one thing about Maryland kids, Baltimore, DC, whatever, we have that fire, that aggression. So our kids, they still want to go. They want to go hit something at times. So we got to tell them, like I said, no, you got to do the fly by block. You got to run by, put your back to them, and run with your hands up. So I said, you just got to tweak and understand what the rules are to. And these kids, they understand when you break it down to them, like, hey, this is going to cost you this half and the next half. So whatever it is. So they start to become smart once you put like you're going to sit for some time for that hit. Or if you go for the ball and get the pick versus the hit, you got a chance to make a conference or add to your stats, add to your numbers. So let's say you just got to be able to, let's say, being in the game for so long, it's just adapting.
And it's always interested me though, Rod, because um I still reminisce about not necessarily the Mount St. Joe team itself, but the way the game was played back then, it was played with a completely different set of aggression because a lot of this stuff was legal that is no longer legal now. So maybe it's just me as a football fan and somebody that loves the game. It just seems like they've policed the violence out of it, and it almost um, puts your defense at an instantaneous disadvantage to where you have to coach all these new techniques, and then you have to make sure that the players know that there's the strike zone to hit. Me personally as a player, and I know you probably feel this way too. Hit me in the helmet and the shoulder pads as many times as you got to, but do not hit me in my knees because I can shake off a concussion. I can shake off, a stinger or a cracked collarbone, but a helmet to the knees is detrimental to the playing career of everybody. So it's just crazy, man.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. Like everyone, I said, all the pro guys you hear, like especially the receivers, they the ones that always talk about because again, they somewhat are against the rules as well because, like you said, they don't want the low hit. And the receivers, like you hear receivers talking about, nah, like bring that physicality back. Because if you go hit me in my knee, like I said, that could, especially in the NFL, even like I said, college with a chance to go to the NFL, that could damage your career, damage your livelihood with someone going low, taking your legs up. So that a lot of people, like I said, past and present, that's their mindset of don't hit me in my knees. do not
Yeah.
do not blow my knees out.
My thought process is there too. So now that we've talked about the coaching aspect and the past versus present, what does it mean to you to be coaching not only in your backyard? I mean, you played in Baltimore, you grew up here, but to be coaching at a HBCU here in Maryland, what does it mean to you personally?
So it being at Bowie State makes it even a lot more special because my dad went to Bowie State. My fiance went to Bowie State. I have about 5 cousins that went to Bowie State. My uncle, so like I said, Bowie State is family. And I remember as a kid, so I walked down to practice every day. Like our offices, a gym that sit on top of the hill, and then I said the bottom of the hill got a little walk that said I walk to practice every day. And as I'm taking a walk to practice, I'm walking past bleachers that when I was a kid, I remember playing underneath of. I remember as a child, as a child, you go to games, you're not really paying attention to games, you just want to go play. So I remember that. So I said Bowie State is a little bit more special. But like I said, HBCU in general, like I said it's a blessing to be able to help my kind. Like I said, most of us, and like I said, at the historically black college and university, I said it's a great thing, and Bowie State is the first HBCU in the state of Maryland, so that makes it even better. Me being a Maryland resident, growing up here, born and raised, and then like I said, my family is is Bowie State, so special, very very, very special to me. And then, like I said, with the way the world is going right now, I'm in the HBCU world at the height of it. At the height of it, so it's all eyes on us. We're getting a lot of exposure that HBCUs haven't gotten in general. So as I said, it's great. Like back in 22, we had about 3 4 games on national TV. Like you could like we were on the CW about 3 4 times last year. This year we were on TV. I want to say twice. Might have been
Hmm.
on there. Said you can see us on national TV. So it's great. Great to be a part of it.
That's fantastic, man. I know it means a lot to you because you hold the city near and dear to you, and coaching at the first HBCU is got to mean something. Um, is it is it easier for you to stay where you are, and like you alluded to earlier, that coaches do up and leave, and you've been a traveler a little bit here and there throughout your college coaching career. Is this some place that you see yourself staying long term? And I know it also helps that having the head coach from Baltimore as well. around our age. I- is this like a place that you can firmly entrench yourself, like being one of those legendary, tenured coaches for 20, 25, 30 years?
So it's yes, because I'm home. One thing about it, like I said, I'm home. I obviously said I'm 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 home, so I don't gotta I don't have to travel be far away. Like I said, I've been a couple of places. I've been to 5 different schools. Three of the schools have been in the state of Maryland. So like I said, I'm home, and like I said, I get paid a decent amount of money. We win football games again. Obviously, we need to win a little bit more. 6-4 isn't the standard that we want. But like I said, I'm good. The job or another school, it has to make sense. It has to make sense as far as my career moving forward. Where can the next step get me? And like I said, obviously, like I said, we're adults, so the money has to make sense. And it's not like I'm asking. Like I said, oh, if this school is offering me a lot more money, I take it. But I might be just that school might be in a state that's a lot more expensive, where is balancing out, and it's really not doing nothing for me. So it has to make sense on many different levels for me to leave. Like I said, I'm comfortable at Bowie State again with my head coach being another Baltimore guy. He's a year older than me. He went to Emerson, which is right up the street from Mount St. Joe.
Right.
Like I said, so he's your age, graduated. Like I said, your class. So I said I'm comfortable and I'm good with him. Now, obviously, how this business work. Someone can call me. We can hang up. Someone can make a phone call right now, and if the job makes sense, I'll entertain it and see where it goes. But I'm not necessarily looking to leave.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't expect you to be looking, but
Yeah.
I know that,
Hmm.
things do happen, opportunities do arise, but it just seems like you got the the ultimate gig for you at this present time, to where every school in the MIAA,
Hmm.
every school down that way. Now I'm assuming, in PG County, there's a lot of bowlers in this state, and
Hmm.
a lot of them go unnoticed because they're looking to get, because of, the lack of resources. But I know that your boots on the ground still, even with social media, going out and hitting all these schools throughout the year. Is that a rigorous part of being a coach that not a lot of people understand, is going out there and recruiting and hitting a different high school every Friday night or Saturday night during the year? What is that like in terms of your part of your job?
So recruiting is all year round. It's all year round. And like I told you, we just hosted a camp on Sunday. Actually, probably tomorrow we'll be dropping our camp dates for the summer. So we'll have a few camps on campus. We'll also travel to a couple different places for camps, and we'll also attend other schools for camp. So recruiting is a all year long thing. And I actually go to Jersey in 2 weeks for camp. Then I'm down in Virginia a week or two after that for camp, trying to see different kids from all over. And then once we get into the season, we're on the move. I might not go to see a school this week, but early in the morning, I'm reviewing film of every single DB in the state of Maryland, or every single kid in the Baltimore area. Like I said, that's my recruiting area and all that. So like I said, it's always something dealing with recruiting. And then once the season over, we're going to 3, 4, 5 different high schools a day. So it's like I said, it becomes a grind. It becomes taxing, saying the same thing over and over and over again. Like I said, to a different. Sometimes you forget. You like say, did I say this already? But you said it at a whole nother school. So like I said, it's definitely like I said, a rigor. Like I said, it's tough to do at times. Like I said, it gets tough. It gets, like I said, monotonous, doing the same thing over and over again. But it's fun being able to give kids the opportunity to grow and develop and better themselves.
Absolutely. Now you can omit names, situations, specifics, but I wanted to ask you, in the recruiting trail, what is the most outlandish or absurd request you ever had from a child or a teenager and or parents? I know you got something because every coach does.
So again, we're not on that level where we get those outlandish things like, oh,
But it could be outlandish for D2, you know.
give me this money, give me that. Our biggest thing is that we might face on this level is kids want to start. Like they want to like, can I go start? And I have to break it down to them. Like, think about this. Ask them this: how many kids started on your high school varsity? How many freshmen started on your high school varsity team? They look around, they be like, none, one. What's the difference in college? Like, and then I say, compare yourself from when you was 14 to now. Think about the way you are now to what you'll be at 22. So that's the big thing. Also, they ask for gear. Can't give them gear, but they ask for, hey coach, let me get that jacket you got on. Let me get that hat or certain things like that. But nothing like say super outlandish. But they ask to start. Like I want to go to a school where I can start as a freshman. And again, they have every right to ask that question because I want a guy to come in and play. Now we give every single freshman opportunity to start and play their freshman year, but chances of it happening at a good program is slim to none. Like if a school is playing a bunch of freshmen, probably not good. Probably not just like a high school team. If a high school starting a bunch of freshmen, probably not good.
That's fair. One last question about the recruiting trail before I let you go,
Mm-hmm.
Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Is up to this point, has there been a high school or portal recruit that you missed on that was like the one that got away that you thought for sure you had in the bag and something changed? You don't have to say what changed, but is there somebody that you thought that you had firmly in your grasp that ended up going elsewhere?
That's a really good question.
Like you
Really
just went
good.
on the recruiting trail for weeks, months, and you're like, I got this kid wrapped up. He's Bowie bound or wherever you were at the time. He's bound to be in my meeting rooms come fall.
Oh man. So the thing about it is, and not the somewhat to my home, but a lot of times if I feel like I have it wrapped up, I'm going to get him, and I don't think I really. It's usually something before it gets to the point where I think it wrapped up, where I start to see it. I'm like, yeah. I had a couple kids this year. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna. Where they leave. Even back when I was at Stevenson, like I said, they come down, come to a visit. They see what we have going on. They meet me or they meet the rest of the coaching staff. They see me how I interact a little bit. Like I said, they love it. They love. They want to come play for me or be in a program that I'm at. But something on the way before it get fully wrapped up, I'm like, yeah, we're probably not going to get this kid for whatever reason. But that's a good question. I need to go back and think about it. Is there anybody that I lost that I did not get that I thought was wrapped up? It's a good question.
I wanted to hit you with at least one. You know, you're on top of everything I've been talking to you about tonight. You know, it's cool that I stumped you.
Yeah, you did. I think back when I was at Stevenson, I thought we might have was going to get this one quarterback from Merville High School. I thought we had a legit chance of getting him. I was surprised that we had a chance of getting him to come on a visit. We ended up not getting him. That might have been the closest, but dang, that's a good question. Is there anybody else that I thought we were going to get? No, dang, I gotta go back and think about that one.
Yeah, hey, that's cool, man. I'm glad I got the wheels turning. But Rod, we've been at this for 45 minutes, man. We took a couple strolls down memory lane. I just want to say I'm proud of you for accomplishing all that you have, not only as a football coach, but as a man and as a father and a soon to be husband. I'm happy for you that you got the family built, and you're in, your home. And it's always good to see you prospering. And uh, before I let you go, man, where can everybody follow you on social media, especially if anybody has nephews, brothers, cousins that might be in high school football?
So yeah, like I said, I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm proud of you as well. Like I said, watch you again. Let's say you were a year older, so let's say I watched the way you move. Let's say while we were at St. Joe, and then say going forward, the different things that you've done. Like I said, I'm proud of you and said and the growth that you've made. But I said you can follow me on Twitter at RW underscore deuce two. That's DEUCE, the number two. So RW underscore deuce two. And like I said, that's where you can follow me at on Twitter.
Sounds good, man. Hang around for post show, but that's a wrap, folks. Tomorrow night I'll have Cool Ant Williams on in the entertainment industry. Next week, Mighty Mark joins the show next Friday. That's a wrap, folks.